They say Indonesia stole their land and their riches and they want it back, whatever the cost. Now that East Timor has got independence, Indonesia faces separatist revolts in Papua, over in the far east of the archipelago, and in the far northwesternmost tip of Sumatra, Aceh. That's where we're heading. This is Jufri. He's a very brave but very worried man. 2 years ago, when he was helping resettle Achenese refugees, a soldier came up to him and smashed him in the face with his rifle butt, breaking his cheekbone and his jawbone. They then stripped him naked and shoved him in a darkened room for 48 hours. Incredibly sad stories. Sharifa here, her husband had gone to the coffee shop and the mobile police came past and just shot him dead at noon. As all this man was coming back from having collected firewood, was walking across a paddy field, and a mobile foot patrol of soldiers saw him, just shot him down. He was shot twice in one leg, and it won't heal, he says. We think we may have been able to negotiate a way in to see the British academic Leslie McCullough, who's held in the police station just down here. She was arrested 6 weeks ago for violating her tourist visa. One of the things that she said, which really riled the Indonesian authorities, was that in their own imaginations, most Achenese are unlikely ever to belong to Indonesia. In their minds, they'll always be elsewhere. Experience here changed your views?
It's only confirmed my suspicions and what I already knew based on previous research and concrete evidence that I've gathered over several years, and it's made me more angry on behalf of the Achenese and what happens to them here in Aceh.
If you had the opportunity to make a statement to the Indonesian government, what would you wish to say?
They must listen to what the Achenese want, and what they're doing is heightening, by pursuing a military or security solution here, is heightening the sense of fear, the victim and revenge mentality that is perpetuating the problem here.
Well, as you can see, the injuries suffered by these men are pretty severe. They're all terrified for their lives. We've had to conceal their identities because there are many cases in the past of people being picked up again by the police and beaten again. This guy was beaten for 10 days with wooden blocks, rifle butts, and bits of steel, metal, yeah? And burned by cigarettes and dripping plastic. And he was blindfolded throughout. This was in interrogation. They had all been accused of being members of GAM, having been found sleeping in a mosque. This is the general just coming now.
Makodam, aman! Lanjutkan!
Right. Selamat pagi. Good to meet you. The general wants to take a stand in the town of Lok Sumawe, which is where ExxonMobil is based. General, during your time commanding the troops here, very serious human rights abuse was documented. There was documented torture, rape, disappearance, murder, and some human rights groups say that that continues to today. What's your response to those allegations?
Saya kira kita tergantung kepada siapa sekarang kita bertanya dan mendapatkan laporan. Karena yang saya dapat dari masyarakat.
Well, very frank answer there. The General admitted to the fact that there have been human rights violations in the past and even that they continue today, but, he says, it's just not like you hear on the news. There aren't any disappearances. I don't send my soldiers into the field and order them to do that sort of thing. He says the human rights groups are using the ExxonMobil thing to their advantage, and they've got their own agenda. There's an anti-army propaganda thing going on, he says. They're accusing us of being in their pay. Frankly, he says, I can speak to you with a clean heart. I want to secure Aceh. And he says, basically, there will never be a separate Aceh. Oh, you removed the serial number. So what they're saying is that one of the main sources of the weapons that they have here is actually from the army, and some of them they capture, but others they they buy from them, and a lot of ammunition as well. And this gun here, they've just scrubbed the serial numbers off so that they can't tell. In fact, if you on the other side, on this side, they've got their ASMLF, that's the Aceh Sumatra National Liberation Front, which is the full name for the GAM. These are M16 bullets, and they say that these ones they can buy from the army for 3,000 rupiah, which is about 30p. Not only do they get their guns and ammunition from the army, but it's quite military training as well. There are quite a number of Acehnese who join the army, and they then defect back to the GAM once they've got the military training.
Locked up for life for waving a flag. 45-year-old Johan Teterisa is Indonesia's latest political prisoner. The Ambonese man managed to get past heavy security when Indonesia's President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono visited the island last June. He unfurled the Ambonese independence flag in his face. Teterisa was immediately arrested. For the last 60 years, a small group has been demanding Ambon gets its own state. As these pictures show, the police didn't treat him kindly.
I were tortured, beaten up with iron sticks. We were poked with rifles. They even put a grenade in my mouth. What we did was peaceful, but they treated me as if I was a killer.
He was charged with subversion and sentenced to life. But Teterisa is only one of Indonesia's modern political prisoners. In eastern Indonesia, more than 40 people are in jail for raising the independence flag. But students, the heroes of Indonesia's struggle for democracy, are also feeling the pressure. This 20-year-old religion student was sent to prison for 3 months last year for insulting the president during a demonstration.
Our democracy is only half-hearted. Disguised as democracy, the government is still using an iron fist against political opponents.
Still, democracy has brought unprecedented freedom. Political activist Budiman Sujatmiko was among those released after Suharto was forced from power. A new democratic Indonesia has given him the chance to join one of the country's main political parties. He's campaigning for elections next year.
If Suharto didn't step down in 1998, of course I'm still in prison right now. But so democracy for me personally give me a chance to get involved, to live as a free man.
Locked up for life, things look very different to Johan Teterisa.
Tidak ada keadilan. There is no justice. We are sentenced as separatists. Can they prove this? People who commit subversion are usually armed. We never took up weapons. The only thing we did was to sew a piece of clothes.
I've known the family of Ibu Sumina for nearly 10 years. They are living in this alley in a very small house with only one room. She has 6 children in the age between 2 years and 24 years old. And the facilities in her small house are very limited. She doesn't have a toilet or a place to have a shower. That's what she does here in this public place. This is where people come together in the morning and in the evening to have a shower, to go to the toilet, to brush their teeth and to wash their clothes. I'm asking Ibu Sumina how life has changed since the reforms 10 years ago. Bagaimana Ibu setelah reformasi? Sudah ada perubahan?
Enggak. Tidak.
Sama sekali tidak.
Tidak. Malah lebih susah.
She says there hasn't been any change at all since democracy started 10 years ago. She says that life has even gotten much harder. Bagaimana dengan Ibu sekarang, berapa harganya uang dapat satu hari?
Satu hari 20.000.
Cukup untuk 6 anak?
Ya, kurang sama sekali, kurang. 20.000 kadang-kadang pagi buat sarapan anak sekolah habis.
She says, I only live on $2 a day with 6 children, and some of them are still very small and have to go to school. She says, I can't afford that anymore. So she's complaining that with the current government, her life actually has gotten much worse than before.